Today for cleaning and servicing, we have a Galaxy fan. This is the 12-inch Oscillations model. This is an earlier unit with the metal handle on the guard and the older style plug and the Oscillations control knob with the screw in it, which I think is a better design. I think the handle design is better too. This one has an anomaly. Somebody taped pieces of foam on there over the years, which I don't know why that would be necessary, but as long as it doesn't become unstable, I guess that's okay. There's the informations tag. This one's definitely got some hours on it. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it certainly is overdue for a good cleaning. The accumulation of dust on the leading edge of the blade really reduces the performance quickly, so that's not good. And it looks like the motor has quite a bit of dust within it as well, which also is not good. So this is ready for a good cleaning. And we'll lubricate the bearings as well, because I'm sure that has never been done. So let's run it up just to give it a quick test before, so we know what our baseline performance is. You can hear the dry bearings. And around there is dry bearings. And it has a very restricted sound. Still moving a lot of air, but not nearly as much as it should be. And it's still is performing pretty good, but it certainly is restricted. And I think what we'll do is we'll probably replace the thrust washers on this. It's not terribly out of balance. Surprised it's like shaking as much as it is. Almost sounds like the blade is loose or something. Well, anyways, let's get in there and see what the problem is. Spin down time is still pretty good. Wow. These fans really did have pretty good bearings. It's very, very seldom I come across one of these and it has a bearing issue. Alright, so let's go ahead and open this up. These clips are a little tricky, but if done carefully and correctly, they'll be fine. I take a common screwdriver, stick it in between, and just go real gentle and slow, and it comes right off without breaking. And these are kind of designed to stay on, but I'm going to take them off. I don't want them to end up getting broken. They're getting harder to find, and unfortunately they do break fairly easily if people don't know how to do it, or if they're rushing and going too fast. And hold the guard once you get the last one off, so that it doesn't fall and break the blades, because that's something that can happen as well. Okay, so we're inside. It's doesn't look like there's much of any rust, so that's good. Should clean up nicely. And the blade does not appear to be loose. I think we just have some worn thrust washers. It's no big deal, we'll change those out. Oh, we have a stuck blade. That could be an issue. Huh, I wasn't expecting that. Well, this is a very delicate situation because you can't just grab it and pull it off, you'll break it. So what we're going to have to do can try a couple of real gentle taps. That's not going to do it. We're going to have to get the pullers out. I can't find the pullers. I don't know where they're at. I might have moved them already to the other location. Anyways, I got mad about the pullers and I just yanked the thing off of there, which is not really correct, but just had a good grip on the guard here and I pulled it from the center and I was able to get it off because I was mad. Not advisable, but it worked in this case. Whoever assembled this thing just put everything on way too tight. This is a lot of plastic parts here and it just shouldn't be that tight. No reason for it at all. Okay, so now we're getting past what a lot of people know how to do. We're getting into the motor. And the spring on this one is awfully loaded still, which is unusual. So it keeps tilting backwards, which is fine normally, but it's kind of a nuisance at this point. So anyways, we got two screws here on the front. This is full of dust. And then we got the screw on top of here, which sometimes, you know, I've run into this before. I don't really know how to fix this. No, that's not correct. Huh. Well, that's a problem. Whoever assembled this put the screw on so tight that I can't get it off. So what we may have to do is we're going to have to get a needle nose plier, and we're going to have to try to hold, which is not really going to work too good, the bottom of the thing. Because the problem is right now is it's just spinning. I also don't remember if this is reverse threaded or not. So that's half the battle. It looks like it might be a reverse thread screw, just based on the way it's kind of stripped out from whoever put it on there. But oh man, oh. A lot of them aren't like that. Okay, well I guess it can just stay then. It's still not correct, but what you would have to do is you'd have to take the pliers like this, and then with that being held in place, you should be able to undo it. No, I still can't. Huh. Well, I guess there's no reason for that to come off, so it'll just stay. Alright, so now that we're into the motor, the easiest way to do this is just to take a little bit of compressed air and get all the dust off of there. Now, we gotta get the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we want to disconnect the front from the back so we can take the shaft off. A couple of things we got to do first. There is like a kind of a sticky glue, it appears to be, on the shaft, and we're going to have to clean that off, which is fine. We can do that. We have to take this piece out, this bar. So to do that, we're going to lie the fan down on the table, and we can just prop this up on a junky screwdriver, and now we'll just tap that out. Okay, so that's out. Now we're going to clean the shaft. And the easiest way to do that is to just turn it on and take a little sandpaper to it. I'm going to go with a pretty heavy grit at first because I want to take the shaft down a bit so the blade doesn't stick like that, because it's not supposed to. So we'll turn this on. We don't want oscillations. It sounds terrible. And we'll just kind of turn this off. And then we'll finish up with a finer piece. Okay, now we have a nice clean surface to work with, which is important for what we're going to do next. So now we're going to open up the motor. Now, in this case, what's going to happen is when we detach it, the rear portion will be free. And I don't remember for certain if the windings stay with the front or not. Either way, we're going to have to end up with it laying down on the table again. So first, oh, that's interesting. Okay. First, I want to take this oscillation screw off. So let's move the fan to the side, and that's. You don't have the best access, but if you go in very carefully, if you go in through the top here, you can kind of get to it. Do not nick the windings with your screwdriver. That will cause very difficult to repair damage. Okay, so now this is detached. I'm going to take these 4 screws off the back. Jeez, these are really tight. That's not necessary. I'm going to put this wire tie back, even though I'm going to need that access again, because this is a flex point that we've got to be aware of. while we're servicing. Just another note of caution, this is a capacitor. It's discharged right now, but sometimes it can have a spark left in it. And that can be quite unpleasant. Okay, so now we're ready to separate the two halves, the motor and the back. I don't like the way this is coming apart. We're actually going to have to take this off, and we're also going to take the capacitor off too. And what's going to end up happening is, and make sure we get enough slack here, pull some extra out, hold this down as much as we can, and we're going to pull this back very gently over these wires, very gently over those wires. I'm not sure why it's stuck. Okay, and it's out. Now, things are in a very fragile state right now. There's a lot that can go wrong, so we want to work carefully and slowly. That should slip right out. If it doesn't come out, then you have to do more sanding. Okay, so now the motor, let's see if we can push the capacitor through at least. Be one less thing that I'd be concerned about coming apart if we could. I think we can. It's just going to be a geometrical puzzle. There we go. Alright, so now we have the stator here, which is a fragile component. And we have access to both bearings, which is good. So this can take a little bit of abuse. It can hang there like that. I wouldn't just drop it, but it can hang carefully. Now on the front of the motor, there's this, which we're just going to set this aside. You can put that back on afterwards. We have the shaft. And then we have our thrust washer here, which I believe, yeah, it's you can see the wear on it. Well, I don't know if you can actually. You may not be focusing correctly. Notice how it's really worn down in the center. You can see where it, you see the wear mark on there? That's a really worn washer. Now what we can do, if you like to be cheap, we can turn it around like this, and sometimes you can get some more hours out of it like that, or you can just replace it. They're relatively inexpensive, but by comparison, take a look at the one on the front. Notice how it doesn't have the same amount of wear on it. Look at the difference between the one on the front and then this. You can see it's got a distinct wear ring on it. So that's probably part of the sound. I'm going to just put this on backwards for now and let's see if that quiets it down. If not, I can replace it. I've got tons of them. But why replace parts that aren't fully used up yet? So most likely that was our sound. So some oil should quiet it down, and if it comes back afterwards, then we'll have to replace the washer. Now we're fighting a losing battle in the back here because we have all this grease for the oscillating mechanism, which inevitably gets onto the shaft as you move it in and out, and there is absolutely nothing that you're going to do to stop it. I have never been able to stop it. It's just actually two thrust washers here. You can't prevent it 100%, but you try to minimize it as much as possible because grease does not belong in these kind of bearings. Oil belongs in these kind of bearings. And the grease will just gum up over time and cause a problem. So right now, we're going to go through and clean everything out. We're going to clean all these washers. We're going to put new oil on them. And you know what, maybe just because of how much play there was, maybe I'll just go ahead and replace the washers now, because it was pretty loud. Let's slip this back on. Put these back on. Well, let's see what I got here. I think I have some on hand. I usually keep a few around. Yeah, here they are. Yeah, it looks like we're going to need this one, perhaps? Yep, we'll need this one. And because there is so much play already in the shaft, I think I'm just going to slip this one on in addition to the others, because it seemed to me like there's an excess in play. This may not work. If it doesn't fit, then we'll just take it back out. No problem. And again, we're getting the grease everywhere, which we don't want, but it's pretty much unavoidable. Okay, so I've cleaned the shaft off on both sides. I've got to get a new ticker towel. We'll clean inside the bearings. Or, I guess this one is still clean enough to use. We'll reuse this one. Cleaning the rear bearing is going to be kind of a joke because we're going to get grease everywhere. So we'll just kind of go in there like that and try to get most of it out. It's not going to be perfect, but most things aren't. And in the front, we weren't really having a bearing issue here, so we're not going to go crazy over this, but front we'll just give it a quick clean out as well. Just for the good measures. It's pretty clean. Alright, so now to add lubrication, what we're going to do is there's a kind of like a cloth or felt-like material in here. You can see it there on the left side, and it's still pretty wet, which is good. And we're going to put some oil on there. This should absorb a bunch of drops of oil, and that material will release the oil into the bearing over time as the fan runs. So that's that. And we're going to see the same material in the front as well. Well, we have a thrust washer in there. Let's see if we can grab that out. 2 thrust washers in there. As you can see, the material is in the front as well. And we'll just add a couple of drops in there. And that's good. It's absorbing in pretty quickly. These are really good quality motors. They last a long time, and they're very, very well made. They definitely came with enough lubrication. Definitely want to keep things clean though, because the heat buildup is not good. Okay, so now we got enough oil in there. We're ready to put it back together. I'm going to start with, well, I don't think I can pass the capacitor through there once the, let's see. I don't think I can pass the capacitor through once this is there. No, so I have to, we're going to have to put the shaft in the front first. So what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit of oil on here, just like this, a little bit, not much, just enough so that it's not sliding over a dry surface, because it's not what it's intended to do. And we'll slip this in the front. Oh, the thrust washers. I almost forgot about them. Okay, so that's gonna get. Nah, it already got covered in grease. Daggone it. Alright, so that's that. Now we got to get the rear portion of the motor housing back on, which is going to be fun. So we'll have to get the capacitor to go back through like this. How did it go? Okay, and now put a couple drops of oil on the back of the shaft here. And then now we'll do the best we can to get this back into the bearing without getting the grease all over the bearing, which is pretty much impossible, as we talked about before, but do the best that we can, and that's it. Okay. So now we gotta be careful, pull this wiring through like that. And this may want to screw in a bit to the gears. What's the problem here? Seems to be stuck. I'm not sure what is going on here. Okay, well, not sure what's the problem here. You know, I've serviced quite a few of these things over the years, and this one is by far giving me the most trouble I've ever had. I don't know what the problem is. How it's like locked up in the back. Why does it keep doing that? I've never encountered this before. There it goes. I don't know what that was about. There's plenty of slack still, so that washer will be fine. I don't know why that just gave me so much difficulty going on. That's odd. Huh. Okay. Well, it's back together now, so let's put these screws in. And symmetry here is more important than tightness. They only have to go snug, not out of control. Okay, once they're all aligned, then we can tighten them down. I just go to the tightness of the screwdriver. It's nowhere near hand tight. That's one of the reasons why I like this one. It's a good power level for stuff like this. Okay, so those are all pretty symmetrically tied down. I want to take a quick look in this oscillating mechanism to make sure everything's okay, because it should not have been that difficult to get the shaft in. It seems like something might be wrong. The stupid balls just came out. I hate when that happens. This is such a nuisance. There's these two little balls in here. Usually when they pop out, they go flying across the room. At least this one was courteous enough to stay in place. There goes the other one. Okay, we'll fix that. So everything is fine here. I don't see any reason why it would have been so difficult to get in. I don't know. Anyways, now what we got to do is, there goes the screw. See the spring, and that just went flying across the room. What we have to do is there's a spring that goes in between here, and then there's two little balls, and there goes the spring again. Anybody who's serviced these things knows exactly what kind of frustration is transpiring right now. What has to happen is once the spring is in there, these little balls have to go one on either side. And it's quite a bit of tension, which is part of what makes it so difficult. Well, there goes one of them, just flew across the room. I see where it is. If this piece wasn't here, it would be much easier, but it's there. Yeah, the amount of force that these things are under is unbelievable. You wouldn't think a tiny little spring could make that much pressure, but it really does. Alright, so they're back in. Make sure they do not come out again. And it just goes right back in here like this. And then this goes on there like that, I think. Or did it go... Does it go over it? No, it goes like that, I guess. Yeah. Those stupid things are such a nuisance. Okay, and now we'll reconnect this. There's extra slack here because I pulled it up. We'll push it back down in a moment. We want to make sure that this is not like putting a lot of force on the connection where it goes onto the windings, but we want to make sure that it's very firm in place, because if this is this is going to move while it's oscillating, and you don't want it to be flexing on those wires. So if it's like that, that should be good. Alright, so now the motor is back together, and we have some lateral play, but not much. Enough that it's not going to have a problem, but not very much, which is fine. So now to align it, you want to kind of tap the shaft a bit, and let's screw this back in, this oscillation arm. And I'm actually going to open the rear housing again. I want to put some oil in the back bearing. Okay, this is not at all where it needs to be. So let's just go back in here real quick, and I'll put a couple drops of oil down the shaft. Gonna be more careful with the mechanism here so that the balls don't end up coming out again. Oh, something still went flying across the room, but I'd rather that than those tiny little balls. Okay, so you can see the shaft down in there. Oh, if this wasn't here, it'd be easier to tell. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple drops of oil down in here. Let them work their way into the other side of the shaft. That oil will really work its way in. Okay. Now put this back. Okay, and I'll put a couple drops in the front. Okay, we're having some kind of a malfunction with the oscillations here. Did the screw? Oh, for heaven's sakes. Forgot to put the stinking gear back in. No wonder it's not working. Oh, good grief. This is truly the worst servicing of one of these I've ever done. Ugh. Look what's sitting down in the corner of the thing. Gonna throw this fan out the window if this keeps up. It's a good thing the window down here is small and it won't fit. I really hope this video does not serve as a deterrent to anyone to not try to service one of these, because this is not typical. Usually these are fairly easy. I don't know why this one is giving so much trouble. I've never struggled like this with one of these before. These are usually a pleasure to work on. This is a stinking disaster. Okay, here we go again. Okay. Something is loose down in there. I wonder if that's why they put that, I wonder if that's why they put that foam on there. Or perhaps the foam is the cause of the problem. Something's definitely loose in there. Alright, so the bearings seem kind of stiff to me still. I don't know why. It seems a bit too stiff. Could be that I got a lot of grease on the back of the shaft. Could be that the new washer needs some time to wear in. I don't know. It's not terrible, but it doesn't seem to me like it's what it should be. It feels okay on the back. It's on the front where it seems like it's kind of binding up a bit. Well, let's get the blade on and see what happens. This is all plastic, a rubbery thing that goes on the front. Let's just see. I still gotta clean it, but let's just see how the thing behaves with the blade on. Slip that little bar back on first. I guess it's okay. See, it stops kind of abruptly at the end. Nope, it's locked up. Now, something's wrong with that motor. Something's not assembled quite right in there. No, that's not right. You worked on enough of these to know that it's not supposed to feel that way. I have to open it back up, and maybe I'll take that washer out. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. Let's get in there and see. Okay, here we go again. Yeah, it keeps locking up. It's frozen. I don't know what is going on here. I guess I'll pull that washer out, and I bet there's grease all in the back bearing, which is kind of unavoidable, just based on the way this is designed. These usually aren't too bad to service. There's a couple of caveats about them because they are not really intended to be serviced. See, something, what is going on with this thing? I just don't get it. Something is weird about it. Something is not right. come on. Oh. Duh. I see what the problem is. Oh, how come it oscillated all the way back already? It didn't even... Why did that move? It doesn't make any sense. How could it have gone back? What? How on earth did that happen? That doesn't make a single iota of sense. Can it just freely move back without rotating? Huh. Well, look at that. No, it can't. So how did it... I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. Really? Well, there's actually not that much grease on there. Let's just take this off and see if this is the problem. I would be a little bit surprised if that's the problem, but I've certainly been wrong before. The problem is during this procedure, so much grease just got on the shaft just then. So I know that that rear bearing is full of grease now, and that's not going to work. That's the problem. Maybe that was the issue. Seems to be freer already. Well, let's put it back and see what transpires. Huh. I guess that was the issue. It did not, for whatever reason, like that thrust washer. Maybe there was too many of them in there. Maybe it, for whatever reason, just isn't going to work. Well, that's fine. We'll save this for another project then. Hopefully the oil is enough to quiet it down. I can try further experimentation with this, but if I'm not happy with that, I'd rather not try to make it work. What a boring video this is. I'll upload it anyways, because I think there's people that like boring videos. Okay. tie this back down. I think it was like that. I kind of think a tie wrap would be more fitting here because it would keep it stronger, but I like that they use the wire tie for the sake of reusability and ease of detachment. Alright, let's see if it runs properly now. Appears to be. There's definitely something wrong within the base. And I'm wondering if that's maybe why the foam is on there, because something's weird about the base. I don't know what it is that would go on in there that would get loose, but obviously something isn't quite right. Why on earth are these so covered in paint? I don't even use these when painting. There's always something around here. It really is. Yeah, that's behaving much better now. I don't know what. I guess I just did not like that thrust washer at all. Now this is correct. It's not locking up real tight at the end like it was before. Alright, I don't know what in the world the problem was. I guess something about that thrust washer just did not agree with the fan, so it didn't work. Okay, whatever. Alright, now we're going to do some cleaning, so let's move over to the cleaning table. The bakes I'm just going to wipe down by hand. Sometimes I take this off and put it in the sink, but this one's not dirty enough that I really feel like doing that. I could probably get all these little blemishes off with some kind of a cleaner, or even like a baking soda paste, but I just don't feel like it right now. And this being something I'm going to use versus a display piece, I'm more concerned about its operation than every little detail. So, and there's all paint splatter on the thing too, which can be removed, but it takes a long time. And I don't feel dealing with that today. So we're just going to make it enough so that it's presentable and not like, oh, that fan's disgusting, and that's good enough. Okay, here's the last part for something to go wrong. Let's try and get these crazy clips back on. Usually they break coming off, not going on, but at the rate things are going here, you never know. So far, everything is okay. Okay, looks like they all went on good. Now let's see what we have here. Seems to be operating much quieter than it was before. And of course it's also moving more air. Okay, the medium. Notice how different the sound is. I'll put a clip of what it sounded like before.